So finally, update 1.5 is out, and I said to myself, I think it's time to do a proper review of Cyberpunk 2077 since it's 2022, and let's just see what's going on with the game in depth. We're going to be talking about all the systems in this game, from new improvements to the combat. We're also going to be talking about what's going on with the loot and gear system as well. Some big changes right here, by the way, that some people actually like and some people do not like. So we're going to dive into that as well. Plus, there's been some major changes to the AI. Let me tell you what, some very noteworthy things going on here, and some new gameplay styles added into the mix as well. Now, in this video, I'm not going to be going much into story stuff. Just know that I think the story is very fascinating and I myself love it. So we're not going to be talking too much about that. We will say that the characters are very interesting, but yeah, no story spoilers in this video. Now, first, a word of warning. I played on the PS5 and PC. I did not get the chance to play on PS4 and Xbox One. Now, of course, there's been major improvements to crowd interactions and things like that on next gen. That did not make its way to old gen consoles. So please just know that as we go through this review. But yeah, we got to talk about some really cool changes in this game. That yes, there's been some major overhaul done to the actual loot and gear system in this game. It is very different right now. So loot, especially clothing and armor pieces, have been completely reworked. Certain mods can only be attached to specific types of clothing and armor now, which definitely makes it interesting heading into combat this time around, and it makes it more tactful. You have to be very careful with the choices that you make with mods and your gear. Now, there's some controversy with this, of course, because a lot of people are saying now that, yeah, although it's made the game more difficult, people are now wanting a transmog system in the game because they don't want it to be where you are stuck with certain gear and clothing and you're forced into that type of situation. So it's kind of a bittersweet improvement to the game, I guess you would say. But in my opinion, overall, it's definitely a welcomed improvement because it's done a lot of cool things with the actual gear and making you as a player go in here with your perks and you know, your mods and things like that, and really be careful about your choices that you make. And it kind of makes it to where you have very specific play styles in the game now. Now, what's really cool, mentioning playstyles, is they've really done some reworks with the throwing knife, making it a lot more entertaining to play with this thing. Of course, it refreshes, kind of like a boomerang. But yeah, you could do a lot of cool stuff merging this with certain perks and, of course, gear items as well, and really buff your throwing knife playstyle, which I think is definitely a welcome improvement. Big time. Now, also, the economy has been rebalanced in the game as well, and it makes it easier to experience the entirety of the game through one playthrough, since we don't have New Game Plus in Cyberpunk. And I will say that is an absolute bummer that we do not have, of course, New Game Plus in Cyberpunk 2077. I really want to see that in the future as some sort of free addition to the game. But yeah, maybe we will see that. Maybe we won't. Now, Night City itself is absolutely beautiful. Let me tell you what, you know, just exploring this world on motorcycle or whatever car, or even on foot, your jaw drops because they have improved the graphics, the game engine on this game so much. And I have to say, even with the crowd improvements on next gen, it just feels so much better because crowds, of course, will interact with you differently now. There's suspension on vehicles. You'll see them stop appropriately. As you can see right here, you can see the suspension working. They even recognize other NPCs trying to cross the road. That was not the case whatsoever previously. And then you'll run into like dynamic gang fights still throughout the city. It just feels so much better than before. So update 1.5 has definitely improved a lot regarding the crowds and interactive in the interactivity, in the game. Now, I did notice some oddities with this, of course, especially with the traffic system as we are driving around in our. This is actually a new free car that you can obtain, which is really cool. But yeah, as you can see, there's no traffic right here, and I was like wondering what is going on. And this is post update 1.5, and it seems like the traffic had to catch up with how fast I was going around the world. So there's still some weird stuff going on, of course, with the traffic and things like that. So I think they need to further improve this. Now, this was on PC. I didn't really run into this issue on PlayStation 5. So it could be a setting that I have to tweak on PC. I'm not too sure, but let me know if you guys are running into this as well. But as you can see, it's just absolutely stunning how beautiful Night City is. And by the way, they have actually added in more weather rotation. I've run into some sandstorms. Finally, I heard people talk about it in the community. And yes, you do run into more weather effects in the game, which makes it feel more like Blade Runner. And in my opinion, the rain is looking really, really good. I think there needs to be some improvements in this area as well. Now, some systems definitely need improving big time. The police system is completely underwhelming in this game right now, despite some of the dynamic stuff going around. Players have discovered that police will chase gangs, get into some shootouts on the streets with gang members. They'll even get into shootouts now with civilians that, are carrying weapons that try to defend themselves against you. So that's something that is cool in the game. But overall, right now, the police system has a lot to be desired for sure. Now, also one thing that they have improved upon are some of the rewards that you do get as you explore the game. You take on certain random gigs throughout your adventure here. And the thing is, though, they kind of are redundant. Of course, you're trying to impress that fixer that gives you a lot of the rewards. But you're going to be rescuing people, you're going to be hacking into systems, and you're going to do this over and over again when it comes to some of these gigs. In my opinion, that's kind of redundant. However, what makes up for this are some of the quality side content quest lines that you can go on, because they're actually really, really interesting to have. Very memorable characters and plot lines for sure. I'm not going to spoil anything at all, because I know a lot of you guys are just getting into the game since it has been updated. Now, of course, they've added some really cool stuff here, new apartments that you can actually purchase and rent for yourself, I guess you would say. It's a one-time buy, and then of course you can customize your apartment as well. But these apartments are really, really cool, and they add a lot of personality to the game, in my opinion, and really identify what district you're in. And there's a lot of different exploration opportunities to be seen within the apartment itself by lighting incense. Going to sleep will give you bonuses. You could play the guitar at your apartment. So a lot of really cool, noteworthy stuff here. And you could work your way up to getting fancier and fancier apartments as you go. As you can see here, this is going to be the Corpo apartment. So if you're playing that life path, you can really get into it and experience it in a different way. Now, the life paths itself, by the way, are again one of those things that, in my opinion, are completely underwhelming and absolutely need to be improved. Will they be improved? My opinion is most likely not. I think they're going to focus on the big expansion. Perhaps they'll have some sort of new life paths there, but overall, I don't think they're going to be doing anything with the life paths. Now, what's really interesting about some of the character stories and arcs is they have had some improvements here with the romance options. You could wake up beside your romantic partner now, or go to sleep at their place. So that's definitely an improvement there. And Keanu Reeves pops up randomly in the game on main story missions and, of course, side activities. And I'm a huge Keanu Reeves fan, so that's really, really cool. So the main story is definitely, in my opinion, very interesting. Side missions are, offer some interesting stuff there as well. But it's the redundancy with those gigs that I do not care for. And I think they need to rework the way they do that. Again, my opinion is these developers need to study one game and only one game, and that is Ghost of Tsushima, because that game absolutely nailed it when it came to a lot of the, side missions and story arcs that you can undertake. And one thing that is disappointing about Cyberpunk is there's no real in-game here. There's no beefy in-game to give you a reason to keep replaying it over and over again, or extend the life of the game. Of course, you can go back and experience the game in different ways with the life paths, but that's so shallow. That's not fully fleshed out. And yeah, there's a lot of side activities and things like that, but it would be really cool to see a proper in-game in Cyberpunk. Now, of course, one thing that feels really, really good is the combat. The combat and AI have been improved greatly with update 1.5, and I'm really impressed with the brand new weapons that we have received, of course. So they've done a great job adding in, I think it's like a couple of weapons here. We got 2 free new weapons immediately after update 1.5, and then there's some weapons to be discovered through, you know, completing those gigs for the fixers. And yeah, there's even some new cars and things like that, though I would consider these to be variants of existing cars, so take it or leave it. Overall, I think it's an impressive effort to get people back into the game. But yeah, reworking some of these systems has definitely done some positive things to the game. They've improved the bugs. And I haven't really run into any major game-breaking bugs, which is absolutely imperative because the game was a mess when it first launched. For me, I couldn't even barely get through the story because dialogue options were completely missing and people were muted for no reason. I was like, I give up. I'm not even going to play through the story right now. I'll just do some of the side activities. So that's how I was experiencing the game at launch. That no longer exists. It's a really good, smooth experience overall, in my opinion, at least on next-gen consoles and PC. As for, again, the PS4 and Xbox One base consoles, that's going to be a completely different story, of course. And of course, they've really done some cool stuff with the map. They've cleared that up, made it a lot more impressive here, and you could sort through different filters. Thank God they did this because it was just an absolute mess beforehand. And yeah, kudos to CD Projekt Red for that one. Now, ray tracing mode, we're going to talk about that here in just a moment because it's one of the negatives in my opinion. You're going to be capped at 30 frames per second here, but my opinion, this is a sluggish 30 frames per second. This is on PS5, by the way, but I was hoping for like a smooth experience, at least with the ray tracing. But yeah, there's 2 different modes. You have ray tracing and performance. I myself prefer the 60 frames per second. It just looks so much better and feels so much better. So honestly, my opinion is I really do hope they improve the ray tracing functionality on consoles. PC is a different story, just depends on the rig you have. But yeah, we'll see what they do with that one. Let me know what mode you guys prefer, of course. That's going to be the big question. But yeah, a lot of really cool improvements here. Vehicles, motorcycles especially, have become one of my favorite things to experience in Cyberpunk because they just feel that good. Yeah, so overall, in my opinion, they've done such a great job with Cyberpunk in 2022. They are on the right track, and I am, for the first time, really excited for the future of this game. I think they can really build upon Night City and what they've already built here. We need more dynamic events. I really hope they tap into games like Ghost of Tsushima with how they do a multi-threaded story arc for the side missions, because I think a lot of us are here, of course, for Night City, but I don't think we want to just be exploring and doing nothingness, I guess you would say, where it's just random activities that have no weight. So I want to see actual story within these side activities. I think it would bring a lot more people back to the game, even more so than what has happened with update 1.5. But yeah, there's my opinion about the game. I right now can highly recommend it. Finally, highly recommend it to you all. You know, I have 2 brothers, and I've been telling them, just wait, don't play it yet. Wait, hold off until the big update. And now I'm like telling them, go after it, play it. You can finally experience this game. The story's great. It's smooth. It's awesome. So yeah, great start to 2022 for Cyberpunk and CD Projekt Red. Now I'm curious to see what they do with the Witcher 3 next gen update. That's going to be really interesting to see what they do there. But thank you all so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Smash that like button if you did. Stay tuned for more Cyberpunk 2077 and overworld gaming goodness, and I will see you all next time. Take care.